Hello and welcome everybody to today's Intuitive Growth with Oracle and Tarot Cards series. We are being honored with Pamela, who is an amazing healer and does some wonderful energy infusing into cards. So she's got her own magic that she's going to be sharing with us today. Welcome, and how are you doing today, Pamela?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really glad to be here to kind of share the possibilities that are available through cards. It opens up worlds and it continues to open up worlds, which is nice. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for accepting. So there's so many different areas I want to dive in with your wisdom, but let's start with the basics. Where did your journey with reading cards begin? It's been over 15 plus years, so wow.
Yeah. Well, when I first started, what happened is, which is fairly common for a lot of people, is their world falls apart. And my world absolutely fell apart, including my whole identity. So it was a major thing. And when I was walking on my road one day where I used to live in my old world, I started hearing a voice in my head. And when I understood what was happening, I wanted to tap into that on purpose. And it was very, very new to me. And I reached out to someone on a Yahoo group back then. Again, dating myself, but oh well. And she sent me my first tarot deck. And I was enamored because I could feel energy, but when I first got this deck, it almost blew me over how strong the energy of it was. And that kind of turned me on to, wait a minute, I thought there were cards to tune into intuition, but at the same time, it opened that door of feeling more too. Yeah, that was a huge door opening.
Mm. Wow. It's
Mm.
it's not often you hear someone say that it got blown away from the energy. Was that your own energy being opened up that blew you away, or did you feel it from the cards themselves?
I felt it from the woman who sent me the deck. She had used the deck herself, and so she was gifting me with it. And incidentally, I have probably 8 of the exact same deck on my desk right now, but they're all infused with different energies.
Mhm.
May I show you this
Go
stuff?
ahead, yeah.
So this is one, but it's literally,
I feel
you
like
can
that's
see,
just every card reader's dream right there.
but it's again, there's 2 main type of decks. We have this kind and we have this kind. Now you can see that there are all different colors, and that's because they're infused with different healing energies. This
Mhm.
one is from Melchizedek. This one is from Archangel Michael. This one is from Samurai, who's a dragon. This one is from Pixie, who is from the fairy realm. And this one is infused with my higher self energy, bypassing me so that it can actually do more good than my ego getting in the way. And that's just kind of a brief summary. I mean, I have well over 350 decks, but these are the ones that I use the most. And one is a Oracle version and one is tarot version, obviously. So yeah.
Wow. When you shared the higher self one, the chills that went through my body, I was like, ooh. I received a card reading from you from the Samora, the dragon deck, and that blew me away, to use your words. That was really powerful. And that was one of those just over the Facebook kind of situations, which it's amazing how the stuff doesn't know that it's distance. It
Right,
doesn't need to be in person kind of a thing, which is quite
right,
amazing.
right.
You said you have over 300 decks, so you work with that. How much is them, how much when you work with them, how much is you being called and how much is your decision?
Oh, I would say 90% is the one that whoever I'm working with, their guides or their energy dictates.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. How does that come through for you? that you know which one?
Often I'll see an actual image, but my clair abilities have progressed a lot over the years. So I do have where I can taste things. Like I can literally go in the store, grab a bottle of wine or grab a package of cheese and taste how it feels like to see, do I like it, do I not, without actually tasting it. So that skill is there. My knowing is there. The one that's not as strong as the others is the precognition. And that's okay with me. That's okay with me. I think I have a little bit of a fear about that. But my hearing, my seeing, my knowing, my feeling, again, I use them all day, every day. So it really amps up. So how do I know? Usually I see an image.
Okay.
A long answer for a short question. Sorry about that.
It was actually perfect because so this question I like to say for a little bit later on, but we're going to dive right in with it. So you have a lot of cards, you have a lot of different relationships with these cards, I can imagine, and they change as you grow with them.
Yes.
If you had to describe the overall relationship with your cards, what taste would you describe it with?
Bread.
Bread.
Bread. You can't live without it. It's my favorite substance. It's grounding and yet fortifies. Yeah, I would say bread.
Beautiful. All do they each have their own kind of bread? Sourdough, rye,
Oh,
normal wheat?
absolutely. Absolutely. Of course, we have the ones that are infused with the money healing, and then we have the ones that are infused with relationship healing, and then we have ones that are infused with personal growth healing, you know. So there's yeah, lots of different flavors.
Wow, that is, I loved how you were on the ball with that one. You just knew instantly. It was so good. So, with your other world that you said you're walking down the street with and you were a part of, were you aware of all of these different intuitive natural abilities?
No, I wasn't. I know that before my world collapsed, I had an issue, well, a time where I was an insurance agent for 25 years. So discipline, 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 document, business. I was the office manager, you know, all the responsibilities, been there for a long time, the whole bit. And at one point, I got a message that I needed to call my best friend at the time. We talked every day, but then I hadn't heard from her for a while, and I felt this urgency to call her. I had to call her immediately. And I told my boss, I don't know why, but I have this feeling. And he trusted me enough. Obviously, I ran his office. So I called her, and she was about to commit suicide. Within the hour or so, I had her up to the hospital, and we were waiting for her ex to come. And all of a sudden, I got these visions that she needed to go home. She wasn't from the same area that we were in, a different country, actually. And there was someone waiting for her. And I told her that. And I'm thinking, I don't know what just happened. All I know is what I just saw. And that's not something I did on a regular basis. It's just not. I come from a very business world, show me proof, right? You have to have everything to back up everything. So this was very, very foreign to me. 6 months later, she did move back home. She rekindled a relationship with someone she had, and she's been married to him ever since. And that was a decade ago. So it all played out. So that was part of before I even knew this happened. But when I think about it, I have another quick experience. One time I was meditating as the door was starting to open, and my mother-in-law at the time, who had been passed for quite a while, showed me a picture of her holding one of my kids. And so she spoke to me in French, and I didn't know what it meant. So I went and asked my, at the time, husband, and he said, "You must have been dreaming." And I said, "No, I understood perfectly." So when the door started opening more, I realized, well, I know that happened, so I know it's true.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of hard to doubt that. So as the door started opening more, the connections, it's like, I know I didn't make that up. So I
Yeah.
know I'm not making this up. And it really helps to drive that belief in you in there. Even though I struggled with mediumship for a long time, I shouldn't have, because it's very natural for me. What was hard for me is distinguishing what was my mother-in-law and Melchizedek or an archangel or a dragon or a fairy, because how can a dragon and fairy be real versus my mother-in-law?
Oh.
Expansion, right? Expansion, expansion, expansion. I had to break through all of that. Cards helped me do that for sure. Absolutely. Um, Channeling helped me do that. And the cards work as a 3D physical proof of the information that I'm getting. So for anybody who has that difficulty, tarot and oracle is a perfect way to make sure you're not crazy.
How did you open up, deepen that trust between being aware of what was mediumship versus interacting with these multidimensional beings? How did that clarity emerge?
Channeling, and then it went from channeling to having them tell me and having the indication, the feeling that it felt like a cat or it felt like a dragon. And I feel, again, this is as my senses are opening up more with medium. Of course, you know, it's like connecting the breadcrumbs after. It's like, how come I didn't realize this? Because even in my old world, before really things blew apart, Spirit was using me and would literally move my body. And I'd pass it over to them, and I didn't feel any harm, not knowing that that was to be what I'm here to do, right?
Mm.
What is that compared to channeling? No, reading cards is more acceptable, because again, it's the stretch, 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 right? So going from the mediumship and feeling their hair, feeling their size of the body, to holy shit, this is a dragon. Whoops, sorry. My goodness,
All
this
good.
is a dragon.
Let the throat chakra be free.
Sorry about that. But it's like, I feel this, and this being is so much bigger than me, and the deep and the richness, the power that came through. And then when they channeled, it's like, at one time I was doing a live event and I couldn't even contain all the energy. And my husband knows this. Thank God for my current husband. My first husband didn't deal with this at all, which is partly why we divorced after 28 years together. But this one knows that I am meant to do this. And he is in this as deep as I am. And he's my own
Beautiful.
personal healer too, which is beautiful. Even though that's not what he does for work, he's very capable. So I actually had to put my hands on his back to ground me enough to bring through all the power of this, of Samurai in particular, when he came through for that local in-person healing meeting event. Anyway, I think I went off course.
I feel like I've fallen into a storybook and I'm just like nose deep. No one's ever pulling me out listening to all of your stories. This is profound. Thank you for being so open and sharing it. Let me take a moment and just pull my nose back a little bit.
There is something else I would like to share, if I may.
Please go ahead.
So the tarot deck that I use, again, is the Gilded Tarot. But what really opened the door for me, was one deck in particular, and I'm going behind the scenes.
This is where she keeps them all the
Yeah,
treasure.
So this is the transparent tarot. I know there's a deck out there now, if there's an updated deck, but let me show you an example in particular for those of you who haven't experienced it. It's transparent and it's see-through. This actually has several cards, but you can see them.
Oh, wow.
And what happened for me is when I discovered this deck, Oh, there's writing on that. Yeah. Really, these are your notes anyway. So what happens is you get this image for your mind to work with, right? And then when you add another layer on top, it twists it. And for instance, this one instantly told me you're trying to chase in between two decisions. One hurts and one flows freely. Just because one you get burned and one you really encompass or embrace. Just even though that's not typical of the meaning, that's what instantly came to mind. And all of a sudden, when I saw this deck, the energy of the patterns, the energy itself came to life. And that changed everything for me. That this deck allowed me to see that I read energy, and that changed everything.
So what, because I feel like there might be some people who someone out there is listening to you and going, yes, I'm feeling these huge energies that I'm connecting with, and you're giving voice to that feeling of, oh my God, I'm not crazy kind of a thing. To the people that maybe aren't in that space, maybe there's a lot more doubt, maybe there's a lot more uncertainty in trusting that feeling. Like how you say, it comes to you instantly. It's an instant knowing. Through your years of experience and growth, what advice, golden nugget, could you offer them?
Master your thoughts. Master your thoughts is the single most important thing that you can do to move you ahead on your journey faster than you could with the doubts. And the thing is, all the doubts do is work as a self-sabotage, and that is a technique that the ego uses. Have I mastered it 100%? No, but I know that's what I'm here to do, is to help people master their thoughts. And that's why the decks that I am creating help with beliefs and clearing beliefs, because what happens is thoughts, you have one belief and then you have 4 or 5 that counteract it. And so sometimes you feel this way, sometimes you feel that way. So if you can understand that all things are possible, and you get to choose which one to believe. Once you master that concept, then you can master your reality. Now, like I said, I have changed my whole world around, from being homeless and not knowing how to feed myself or how I was going to wash my hair, to making $13,000 in a weekend. You know, it can change, but you've got to master your thoughts. And your cards can help you do that by helping you become aware of what thoughts, what patterns, what beliefs you are holding. And once you can do that, then again, understanding that everything exists and is possible, you get to decide. So when there's doubts, you are deciding that you don't really want to. Is that true? Or is it the small self wanting to stay safe? Which isn't true anyway. Maybe it was in a past life, but not this time. It's only our fears that is trying to use against you. Does that answer?
That was beautiful. I was just sitting here thinking, I'm so honored to be receiving on the other side of this and be in this conversation. I think that's such a beautiful reminder that you put there of, you get to choose which thought is truth. So they're both there, they're both options, or maybe you feel like you have multiple, but at the end of the day, you are the deciding factor on which one is the truth. So I had another interview with someone else that I asked them, this question, I'm curious to hear your take on it. Since we get to decide what the truth is, if somebody's getting a message from the cards, how do they acknowledge or allow the truth of the meaning to come forward from the card? The you know, that higher spirit truth and not the mental awareness.
So the first thing I would have to suggest is know who you're talking to.
Could you elaborate?
Most people, when they read cards, are asking for guides and angels. And while that's all well and good, your Uncle Sam, your Aunt Tony, your sister Debbie, your best friend Anne Marie will all give you different answers. And if you say your guides and angels, one may give you one piece, one may give you another, one might give you another. If you have direct communication and trust this person, it's literally as if they're sitting in front of you. One time, one of my guides explained it, Samora actually, explained it as, imagine you're going to a movie theater, back when we could do those things, and the music stops and the lights start going down. Everybody goes to their seats and they're waiting in anticipation for the first sound or vision or whatever to come. That's the kind of feeling, the anticipation. You ask the question and then you set yourself aside to wait and receive the answer. That's how you know that it's not you. But again, the first thing has to be know who you're talking to, because sometimes we have guides that we've taken on who we've hired because they served a specific purpose, but we're not in 4th grade anymore and we don't need that purpose anymore, and yet they're still doing what we asked them to do, even though they don't want to in particular. They're still trying to hold you there. So knowing who you're talking to is crucial. And then to allow it to come through is really ask the question and wait. And one of the things I'm teaching in one of my classes right now is how to ask the right question that you need. You can also use your cards to ask, what question do I need to ask? And you use the card to formulate the question. And that'll get you a more precise answer than what do I need to know, which is good. Don't get me wrong. It's not bad, but it's probably not as specific to move you forward. And really anyone who's on this path, that's huge on the list. I see that constantly. How can I move forward faster? Right. And that's one of the things you can do. You can ask questions and know what questions to ask with your cards, whether it be tarot or oracle, and then sit and wait and listen. Now, it can come any of your senses, but it can also be my husband walking through the door or something on the mail. So even though you're waiting for it to come a specific way, be open for it to come, and that's okay too. And usually when you get it, it's that feeling of rightness. And that feeling of rightness that you understood is what you're looking for. It may have to shift a little bit. If it's not quite right, your mind will still try to figure it out, because the energies are not perfectly aligned. But once it is, it settles in, and you've got calm and you've got peace and you've got that knowing and understanding. And that's the thing to look for. Does that make sense? I mean, I know you know all this, but I'm just describing it as I would.
It answers the question really well, and I feel like it gives people the opportunity to know, okay, one step I can do is imagine I'm in a movie theater, going to ask the question, clarify what question I'm asking, because I think that was a very big thing you were emphasizing within all of that information, is being aware of what are you asking, because then from my perspective, and you can correct me on this if I'm misunderstanding, but when you understand what question you're asking, you can also be a little bit aware of who you're asking it to in its own way. Because if it's open up to possibilities, if it's open up to, if you can see in the question, if there's a little bit of an expectation, that almost invites in your grandfather to step in, your friend, you said so many friends' names, I was having a good giggle at that, the neighbor who passed away a couple of years ago, to just waltz in and say, oh, I have an opinion about that.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial to know who you're talking with, because sometimes someone who's been hanging out in space around you is only because you weren't really sure they were the ones that answered. And I get that a lot of when people say angels and guides. Yeah, but not all guides are high level guides. What kind of guides do you want? Ones that are going to move you forward, or ones that are going to keep you safe? Because they're going to give you two different answers. You know, they just are.
I love that. The story's coming up, so I'm going to share it now. I had a time where I was in a very bad space. I was really not doing well with being able to master my mind and such like that. And I just had a moment where I said, that's it, everyone. I need someone in flesh and blood that I don't need to figure out with all of my other senses who and what is around me. And it was this beautiful feeling of I could feel everyone step back, and it was like a circle where I could feel them step back and just drop their arms and be like, we're ready when you are. Like, we're good. You take your time. And it's beautiful to feel that respect that those energies that do have higher intentions bring, versus those energies that are just nitpicking in your ear.
Yeah, for
Friendly.
sure. For sure.
So I'm very curious, and I'd like to incorporate this. It seems like a lot of people that I speak with, using the cards activates or opens up the door, to use your words, them to other gifts. So where did the infusing the cards with healing energies, how did that come about? And if you can elaborate on what that is.
So what happened is I was working with Melchizedek at the time, and I still work with him. He's, as you know, a pretty big wig on the Ascension, on the Ascension chain. And when we were at camp one weekend, I had started to see how, again, reading energies. So I would ask a question or something, and one of the cards would pop into my mind, because they use that a lot to communicate with me, as cards from any amount of the decks. And that's why I use them regularly too, so that I know what ones are in there. And so I don't remember which card it was in particular, probably the Three of Pentacles. And all of a sudden I felt a healing for the Three of Pentacles in issue. The feeling like somebody's always watching over you, trying to tell you whether or not you were doing it right. You know, and it's not a typical Three of Pentacles, but that was the healing that was coming through, and I literally felt it. And so I pulled out this deck, and this happens to be the Alchemia deck. Beautiful deck.
Oh, wow.
And I don't know how many may feel this, but each card has been infused with several different protocols to heal the issues that would be like Ace of Cups is often about unconditional love for the self. And so this has numerous, actually, let me ask, I'm told 13 actual protocols, so sets of instructions of healing vibrations. Whatever one is needed at the time comes out, because as the law of attraction works, the one that comes up is the one that needs healing, and so the one that matches it comes forward. And without the law of attraction, it would just be all of these coming at you, but that's not the way it works. So again, it works with the energy that's coming up when you ask the question, when the energy is there, because that's when you have the ability to affect energy. When the energy comes up, when it's being that's when you connect to that actual energy. It can be floating around anywhere, but as soon as you become aware of it, then you have the ability to change it. And that's when I understood that, okay, this problem was coming up, this frequency can help it. Let me hold the space. Well, I don't know if you can feel that, but that's pouring out. Some will feel it, some won't. It doesn't matter, the energy is still coming out regardless if someone feels it.
Sorry, could you take a moment to elaborate? Maybe someone is feeling it and they don't know how to feel it. Could you touch on what it might feel like?
So some people feel it like tingling in their hands. Some people may feel it like it's searching for something in their body. So they might feel it tingling on their throat or their shoulder or their leg. It's looking for those spots where those stuck emotions or stuck energy is. And so it's actually going to go in your body. You may feel a tingle on your crown. The biggest response, I think, is people feeling it in their hands, tingles in their hands. Some people know by seeing a color. And it's interesting because there are a lot of different variations depending on what senses. For me, my hands tingle when it's working on a cell issue or DNA, which is what it's after. My feet tingle. Um, and that's actually what's happening right now. I guess, again, we all need more self-love, right? And self-compassion. And so this is coming up to heal anything that's needing to be addressed right now around that. So it kind of, when I do live healings, this is exactly what happens, and I hold it and hold the space until I feel the energy stop flowing. How do you in particular feel it as it's coming through?
This card, I found it interesting when you said searching on the shoulder, because it found its spot on my shoulder. I've got an area that I'm still releasing around, and
Yeah.
it went straight to that. As soon as you pulled out the card, it was like, hello.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
an opening in this ear, interestingly enough. So I wonder if that's connected.
They are connected.
Felt like it, yeah.
They're absolutely connected. Yeah. So we can continue talking, but I'd like to let this finish flowing if that's okay with you.
That is perfectly all right. And just everyone out there, remember that even though we're doing this at a different point in time that you're watching this, the energy still remains available for you. The healing is still, you're finding this at the exact time, like you said, the law of attraction, that's how it works. You're watching this video in alignment for receiving this healing, which is a beautiful dynamic.
And one of the things that I do is I can take any oracle deck or any tarot deck and infuse it with any of these beings' frequencies. So even though Melchizedek's is in this one, it's actually in this one too, which means that all of these protocols I can actually infuse into someone's deck who's in China or in Delaware or in Florida or in the Philippines. I have the availability to put these healing frequencies in a deck someone else owns. And that's part of what I do. I also create decks, as you know, and they're just so damn cute.
Oh my word. Is that like a kitty's deck? I want it. That is so sweet.
This one is my most powerful one at the moment. This is the Pray to Mim deck. And it has gnomes and fairies.
Love the frivolous. That frivolous is in the kitchen.
Yes. Conformity. How much we conform to other people. You can see her wings are the same color as the water. Part of her wings is the same color as this. Her dress is the same color as this. We all try to fit in, try to mesh, try to conform, right? So there's a whole bunch of healing frequencies in this. And the thing is, when you combine these, like you can combine 4 or 5 of these cards and they create a specific to you healing that dive deep and work on your beliefs. Distasteful.
I love that one.
Isn't that cute? Let me show you more of the...
Did you do the artwork yourself or did someone assist you with?
No, someone else did them.
Example.
So this one is kind of like the cornerstone of everything. But I have so many now. One that I'm working on right now is for anxiety and depression, as well as self-esteem and self-worth, because a lot of times the anxiety and depression are based on self-worth. And that one has unicorns in it.
Little hearts. Oh, that one looks so carefree. Are they all the same unicorn? No?
No, there's 30 of that character.
Okay.
And then there are 30 that are similar to this style. And then there are 30 that are really unique, like this mermaid unicorn.
That's so fun.
It's the having to be different. Let me show you more of the that one's quirky, and I've put them all together because it just works. Now this one I got recently, and I wasn't very happy. This one, she's trying to play, but she looks all stressed out. So even though she's trying to play, her nerves aren't settled down yet. And that's because I work all the time. I'm just so passionate about what I do, I have a hard time to let go.
I love the hair to demonstrate that. That's so perfect.
I know, right?
And would you say that's a wonderful reminder that sometimes you might want to receive a message from the cards and go and play with your cards, but you're still in that frantic state, that hurried state?
Exactly. And that's why I've chosen these lighthearted themes. So cute. Oops. I mean, just so lighthearted, right?
Definitely. I feel like I just want to play with, like, just leap up and fly with them. The most of them have wings, and just want to do that with them. That's so magical.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And these are actually infused with unicorn healing. But again, these are based on self-esteem, self-worth, anxiety, and depression. That's what these are looking to help with specifically. And again, they're all different frequencies. In one of these cards, the acceptance card, there's 11 protocols, 11 things that can be healed. And of course, I don't know if you've seen me do readings live before, but one card can hit two different people for two different reasons.
Definitely.
And they're still solving that. When I work with frequency, this sounds really weird because I half believe it and half not. But I know that I'm an energy master, but I still have those doubts sometimes. But people come up to me and said, you know, and this is truth, these glasses were actually paid for by someone that I had no idea that I had healed by one of my live events.
Wow.
Yeah, I was getting glasses in there one day, and she said, you don't know me, but I was spying on one of your lives. And can I pay for your glasses? Because I can come to work now when before my anxiety wouldn't let me come every day. And now I'm here every day. And it's like, I had no clue, right?
That is such a gift to be able to receive that awareness of the impact just you living your life is having on other people.
And I don't even know how, you know? I don't know how it works except for these frequencies are real. And I've heard too many stories now to think, oh, it's all me. It ain't me. It's not me. But I'm a willing host. I'm willing to let these frequencies come. Now, the person that's receiving it has their own stuff to deal with. But if their heart is open and if they're in alignment, it can happen as quickly as that.
Would you please, I think a beautiful transition towards the end is how you just mentioned you're a willing host, and you've highlighted we can be a willing host to beings that aren't as serving. What is one way that someone can allow themselves to be in that willingness space and still remain, if I can say, safe or aligned?
One of the things that I teach is a scale, so that when someone approaches you, you ask them for their light scale. And they can't lie. It's just not possible at that point. And so when I hear a number, well, is it 38? They're okay. I've had screaming demons. But I also have 78%, 90%. Those are the ones you actually want to listen to. You can consider the other ones. And I think that's the difference, is you can consider what they say, but many people think, and this, if nothing else, many people think that if they hear it from spirit, it must be the be all end all. And that's simply not true. It's knowing to trust it. And even if you feel it in your body, thinking, does this resonate with me, or do I want it so much that it could be not right? Feeling how it feels in your body. Does it light you up, or are you being lit up because you want it so badly? It's looking at your own truth. I feel like I sidestepped your question just a little bit.
I don't think you sidestepped it. I think you offered an opening for, on your cards, it really stood out to me how the main question on that one deck is, what's my belief? What's my belief? So when you use the scale, are you allowing that question to be in alignment with your beliefs? So it's a reference point that you understand, going from like 0 or screaming demon to say 100%. Is that not necessarily going, oh, you're a bad demon because you are a 20%? I'm saying demon, a bad spirit.
Right. And that's judgmental, actually. I'm not saying you are, but when we consider that 20 is not good enough, the next question that I ask is, what is your intention? Because I've been with ones that are 20% or whatever, and they're looking to improve their rating. Yeah, and I'm denying them the opportunity because I judged too quickly.
Wow. That's a lesson in forgiveness.
Yeah, exactly. And they're looking to, I had one who was at a planet, was from a planet that was behind our evolution. And they were eavesdropping in on a procedure that we were working on. And they wanted to watch, but that was their only intention, is what they could bring back of what was happening. But because their evolution was lower, their light was lower. Yeah, not the best decision, right? Now, I have one deck, it's a MIM deck, and he's a gnome. His light is 30%. But what happens is, and it's in, actually it's in this deck, what happens is his energy is very, very beneficial, because what happens, we were talking about this earlier, is when you bring up the lower vibration, then the higher vibration can work with it and heal with it. And that's what the gnome has the gift and ability to help with. Do you see how it can be beneficial too?
Yes, definitely.
So he helps bring out the pain from the lower vibrational energy, and the higher consciousness of Melchizedek can come in and work with that. So working with both is perfect. So we can't just assume that the lower is not worth it. I need to turn this, close this door. My husband's on the phone.
Sounded like an alien ship was landing.
All right. It's odd that he would have that ringtone based on what I do, you know? I think it's funny. But I think what's important is, just because it's lower does not mean it is not beneficial. And we have to set aside our judgment and ask those questions, because maybe they're wanting to learn from us as we go through that process. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to immediately send them away. We can allow them and ask for a higher one if necessary to oversee or supervise. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I think I went way in a different direction than you intended, but I'm so passionate about this.
Your energy is just so wow. It went in the direction it was meant to go completely. And I feel like you've shared, I feel like there's a broad range that people are able to resonate from this. And if nothing else, remember that whatever you're feeling, you're probably not crazy. Exactly. That I think is one of the greatest takeaways from your story, is how intense the different dynamics and foundations have been. And sometimes we don't always have such an intense story to back it up, you know, our beliefs. But when we start associating with people like your story, or even I've got stories that I just I wanted to deny them. I've really tried my hardest, but they're just too real to deny. When we start associating with those circles, it allows our willingness and our trust to begin to open up and such. So
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
shared so much that I'm just like, I'm sure other people are sitting on the other side going, ah. Uh,
Or saying, you did it again. You embarrassed us again. No, I can't help it. It's what I live for, what I breathe for. And if I can help bring awareness to even one person about the reality that's going on and the choices that we have, then I am absolutely grateful for this opportunity, as well as being able to share this with you. I appreciate that very much too.
I love how you just answered my second question.
Oh,
Without knowing it, you just answered. It just shows how tuned in you are. But before we disappear from, I just want to add one little pinpoint on when you were sharing about the judgment factor and the awareness. If we can just become aware, and circling right back to that choice that we spoke about in the beginning, judgment kind of limits our choices because we put up walls, we put up barriers. And it was so beautiful to hear as you were sharing that scale. It's not coming from a place of judgment, it's really coming from a place of allowing discernment, which is within itself an invaluable tool.
I actually taught a 4-week class on discernment to help people feel what does good feel like? What does being worried feel like? What does your higher self feel like? What does an angel feel like? Discerning all those different energies so that you can be more aware of what's going on. And like you said, and not judge. Be aware and make your choices based on that.
Yeah. I have a memory coming up now. You've actually answered all my questions without me having to ask it, which is just beautiful. I love that. As you're sharing about that discernment, I had an experience the once where, so this is when I was still with a past boyfriend, and he'd gone out the room and I was sitting on the couch, and there was this energy that was not, it was not a good feeling energy. It was putting me in immense fear, and I could feel it really wanted to communicate with me. And it got to a point where like I was trying to do all these clearings and just I was trying everything that I knew what to do. And it just got to this point where I just said, you're frightening me. Like, I can't hear you because I'm so scared. Please, like, just go away for now. And if you're good, come back in a different way. And as I said that, and it was really that honesty, because I was honest, everything else I was trying to like put on, almost that like brave face around it. As soon as I said that, it was his dad that was coming through, and just the energy that his dad had, I didn't vibe with. So I was associating it as fear.
Yeah.
But it really allowed a really beautiful interaction between him and his son that, even thinking about it now, it makes me want to cry.
Yeah, I can feel that. Yeah.
So that discernment is so powerful. And how you just shared that you've got a course on that, what else will people find if they come to your social media platforms available for them to grow with?
Oh goodness. I've taught all ranges of classes between practicing using your skills. Like 1 week we practice using your clairvoyance, another week we practice on your energy reading skills and mediumship, that kind of thing. Teaching basic oracle cards, reading how to do that. On Fridays, I do offer a free card reading class that I give tips and tricks. So that's available, just helping people to read the stories and watching other people give information and see what they get for information and getting to share it in a heart-centered group. I do offer again the frequency infusion, deck infusions, workbooks. I have workbooks where you can use your tarot or oracle cards, and one is called Know Thyself. One is called Let Your Light Shine, and these are on Amazon too. And I have a book that I've channeled about who you really are to to know and master, to understand why we had to go through rejection and why we had to go through all the lower energies. And it really helped to explain that we're coming out of that now. And it's okay. So the things that you tried in the past didn't work, try them again, because now the energies may be in alignment for you, but it's getting past what your mind blocks are. So yeah, those are some of the things that I love and live for, as well as, you know, one-on-one sessions and whatnot.
Well, if you want to continue receiving this radiant, just powerhouse of a human being, as in you are literally the epitome of showing just what it feels like when you're being, not a human doing, a human being. So thank you so much for sharing all of yourself. But go and check out all of Pamela's links, and they're all above. And like you said, your stuff's on Amazon, so that's easy to find as well, and books and everything. Is there anything you want to share in closing? Any final thoughts?
Everything exists, and it's our free will to choose. But remember, you can unchoose too, and choose again. I think that's the basic, because once you understand that you have that power, that you have that control, everything really does revolve around you. But you have to own that. I think I'll leave everyone with that.
Thank you so much, Pamela.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everybody else. Until next time, bye for now.